Hi and welcome. I'll be doing a movie review, facts, and cast. Cast was on before this video. So this video is not the actual movie, but I'll be telling you what happened in the movie, so you know if to see the movie, if you've not seen it, or just to know what the movie is about in case you want to see the movie. I'm going to try to be quick and brief. I'm not the best storyteller, but I'll try to get you know all the details of the movie. I try not to leave anything important out. Try to get the important parts and make you enjoy it. So stay tuned. So I want to be doing the review the movie movie The School for Good and Evil. This is an upcoming fantasy film directed by Paul. It's based on the 2013 novel of the same name, and the screenplay is written by David. Film follows the adventure of best friends Sophie and Agatha, who are kidnapped and taken to the School of Good and Evil. After their fortune were reversed, they tried to figure out a way to return home. In doing so, their friendship is put to the test. Oh, development and pre-production of the movie. In 2011, studios reportedly considered a film adaptation based on the School of Good and Evil series. The film was originally slated for release in Christmas 2017. In December 2020, started that the film is set to be released in 2022, with a release for the latter half of the year being scheduled later in June 2022. A fall rise of September 2022 was announced in late July 2022. Netflix announced the film's release date as October 21st, 2022. The release date was moved up by 2 days in late August. The School of Good and Evil is a fantasy fairy tale of books by Soman. The first novel in the series was published on May 19, 2013. The series is set in a fictional widespread location known as the Endless Woods. The original trilogy, known as the School Years, follows the adventures of Beth's friends Sophie and Agatha at the school. follows the adventure of best friends Sophie and Agatha at the School for Good and Evil, an enchanted institution where children are trained to become fairy tale heroes or villains, respectively. The second trilogy, The Camelot Years, follows Agatha and her true love, King Tedros, ascending to the role of Queen and King of the legendary kingdom. Camilla and Sophie reforming evil into a new image. The final book in the series was released on June 2nd, 2020, and the summary of this novel is: in the village of Gavardon, every 4 years on the 11th night of the 11th month, two children at the age of 12 and older are kidnapped by an unknown force into the surrounding endless woods. While most children feared the unknown force, while most children feared they would take them away, while most of the children in the village, in the community, while they were scared that they will actually take them away, pink loving, beautiful Sophie dreams of princesses and living out a ever after, living happy ever after with a charming prince. She dreams of living a happy, a pink loving Sophie dreams of a happy ever after, and she dreams of living as happy ever after with her prince. Dreams of a happily ever after with her prince charming, and meanwhile her best friend Agatha is the complete opposite of her with clumps. Where clumps show a sulky attitude, bugging bug eyes, and an ugly face. With all that and the fact that she lives in a graveyard, she is deemed by she is deemed by the villagers to be a perfect candidate for the school of evil, as the feared as the feared abduction as the feared abduction day arrives again. Agatha witnesses Sophie being captured in an attempt to drag her back to Gaverdon. She instead gets dragged along with Sophie, and both are transported to the schools. They drag them to they drag them to the schools, and Agatha witnessed Sophie being captured, and they drag them to the schools. They were both transported to the schools, and um, much to Sophie and Agatha's horror, they are sent to what seems to be the wrong school. What seems to be the wrong school, because this is the school of good. We have the school of good and the school of evil. So what seems to be the wrong school means that the person that should be sent to the school of evil was sent to the school of good, and the other person, the person to be sent to the school of good, was then sent to the school of evil. And he said Sophie ends up as a never a student in the school for evil, and Agatha and Eva a student in the school for good. Sophie attempts in the school for good, and Agatha too in the school for good. Sophie attempts to switch schools with Agatha, but to no avail. She tried so hard to switch back, not switch back because this was the first places they were sent to, but she tried to switch schools and get to the school that was going to suit her personality and all that, but it didn't work out. It was to no avail. And why her best friend just wants both of them to go home together. So Sophie tries. So it's looking like Sophie is okay with everything happening, and she wants to switch schools. She wants to switch schools with Agatha and go to a school that was going to suit her personality more. But Agatha, Sophie's best friend, just wants them to go home. She just wants them to go home. And this proves difficult. It was not possible, it was not easy for them to go home. It was very difficult. I mean, they were kidnapped after all, and they're not going to let them make their choice and leave when they're not going to let them just leave when they want to leave and come when they want to come. They have to work on the school's orders and all that. So this proves difficult as Sophie is determined that she is good and is meeting soon after by the most popular prince in school, T, who is also the son of King Arthur and the main male protagonist. So T is the son of King Arthur, and he is the main male protagonist. And Sophie, okay, and he also takes notice of Sophie, and then Sophie and Agatha have trouble when all of their escape attempts are thwarted. The school with the school's tight security system. So the school has a tight security system, which is the school for good and evil. They have a very tight security system, so it's not going to be possible to just leave. So all their plans to escape did not work, and it proved to be all their attempts were wasted because of the school's tight security system. And then Sophie is desperate to be good, but Agatha doesn't want to be at either the school. She just wants to go back to their original life. So Sophie is attempting and trying to be good in the school of good, but Agatha just wants to go back to her original life. Going back to their original life was not even going to be possible because who kidnap someone and let them go out? I mean, even if you're going to go out, you're probably not. It's not going to be easy, and you're probably not going to live a life and all that. So that wanting to go back to her original life was not even a good idea at this point. You just have to calm down and take what you are given, just manage what you've been given. And then Sophie has always been determined to be good. So so it's hard to face that she is in the school of evil. When you're good and in the school of evil is going to be hard. So it's hard for her because she wants to be good, but now she finds herself in the school of evil. In the school of evil, and she thinks that it is a mistake, but soon learns more about herself and more about Agatha. She thinks all this is a mistake. There must have been a mix up. She should be good and not evil. Why was she sent to the school of evil and not the school of good? But all these changes when she finds out more about herself and her best friend Agatha. And when they got to their new schools, their new lives, they were being forced to attend classes in the meantime while everything is getting figured out. They were being forced to attend classes, and Agatha doesn't go to most of her classes. She doesn't go to most of her classes, but she discovers a powerful ability in her. She can hear and grant wishes, something that can only come from a pure good heart. Something that can only come from a pure good heart. She's able to do it, which is to hear and to to hear and to grant wishes. And then Sophie is the person that should be good. She's the one saying she's good and all that. But then Agatha is granting wishes, which is something that only a pure heart can do. Which means she's actually good and has a pure heart, and there was maybe not a mix up. There was probably not a mix up anywhere, and this is how it should be. And then after a visit to the schoolmaster's tower, which was achieved by the riding of a skeletal bed, Sophie and Agatha, they find themselves trapped in a fairy tale. They find themselves trapped in a fairy tale when they got to the school's master's tower and found themselves trapped. And at the end of their visit to the schoolmaster, he gives them a riddle to prove they were in the wrong places. So going to meet the schoolmaster, they've probably dropped their complaints that, oh, I should be in the school of good, but I'm in the school of evil. I should be in the school of evil, but I'm in the school of good. They've gone to drop the complaints and all that, and they were given a riddle to solve to prove that indeed they were sent to the wrong places. And after causing a riot to a school assembly, Agatha is punished confinement in her room. She's punished by not having to leave her room. She's punished by not having to leave her room, and Sophie being set to the dorm room where the beast chops off her hair with an axe. In a rage, Sophie drowns the as revenge for hurting her hair. The girls eventually get to the conclusion the answer was an action, true love's kiss. Agatha sets out with a plan to help the girls get home. She turns aka herself into a cockroach and accompanies Sophie to her classes, whispering answers. She turns herself into a cockroach and accompanies Sophie to her classes, whispering answers to the questions and tests. With Agatha's help, inadvert- Sophie starts ranking well in her classes, and despite desperately wanting to fail to prove her place in good, putting her against Hester, her roommate, a daughter of Hansel and Gretel's wait. So the plan now is um to get Sophie to pass her test and pass her riddles to make it look like indeed she's indeed she was in the wrong place. And now Agatha tries to help her friend get Tedros' keys with her strength, but soon finds out that Sophie is only using Agatha to make Tedros fall for her. That way, she would never have to leave, as she believes Tedros is her true love. Finally, Tedros promises to kiss Sophie after they both win the trial by tail, a test which is top 10 good and evil students enters enters a simulation of the woods, aiming to survive from sunset until sunrise by avoiding teachers' traps and the opposite side in letting an ever and a never come out together alive. This will prove that both sides can unite as one, a big upset to the laws that have always governed to a fairy tale world. However, their relationships ultimately ends during the trial. During the trial, when Tedros discovers Agatha's illegal participation to help Sophie to win, and when Sophie refuses to protect him out of selfishness, hoodwinking God's greatest prince then wins Sophie popularity at the School of Evil and the title of number one villain. At the same time, Sophie begins to show deepening resentment and anger towards Agatha. So So, with everything going on now, a lot has been happening. The best friends that came here together, wanting to escape, not finding a way to escape, and coming up with an idea to help one another in their test and their practice and everything. So it turns out that they are beginning to hate each other, not really beginning to hate each other. It's Sophie that is beginning to show resentment, to show hatred. She now hates Agatha, and this is all not supposed to happen. They were not able to get back to the original lives, were not able to escape because of the tight security of the school and all. Now they are growing apart, and not just growing apart, they're beginning to hate. Sophie is beginning to hate, and she now believes in good, and she also believes in true love. Then consultation with the consultation with the dean of good and a professor in the school of good, after the consultation, Sophie begins to on the other side, Sophie then begins to suffer from Nemesis dreams. She begins to suffer from Nemesis dreams, and these dreams are dreams that the best villain must have, that exposes whom they must kill as their nemesis to survive their fairy tale and be welcomed to Nevermore Evil Paradise. So this is all for the School of Evil. This is about the nemesis, people they must kill for them to continue their fairy tale, and not just for them to continue their fairy tale, also for them to be welcome to the Nevermore Evil Paradise. And I'm sure everybody at the School of Evil will really be looking forward to this. They really want to go and be looking forward to this. And then Sophie believes that the person in her dreams is Tedros, but however, another rule to the Nemesis dream is that as time progresses, while the first Nemesis will grow weaker, the other Nemesis will grow stronger. Tedros did not show obvious strengthening, but on the other hand, Agatha was positively becoming a better princess. So this nemesis dream is who you see in your dream is someone you need to eliminate for you to, like I said, fairy tale fairy tale stuff and um the fairy tale and the paradise. Yeah, and then she thinks that the person she's seeing in her dreams she thinks that the person she's seeing in her dream is Tedros, and which is, yeah. And something about the nemesis dream is whoever you're seeing in your dream will become stronger, will start to become stronger. So when she thinks that Tedros is the person she's seeing in her dream, he doesn't become stronger, he doesn't start becoming stronger. But on the other hand, Agatha was becoming stronger and doing well. She was becoming a better princess. And so after all this, then Sophie then noticed that her true nemesis is not Tedros, but it is Agatha. Agatha, her best friend that came to this school together, yeah, has turned to her nemesis, and she has seen her in her dream, which means she has to um, eliminate her. And and but as concluded by her henchman, a rogue cupid named Grim, in the circles of talent were never and ever complete for their own talents. Tedros confesses his love for Agatha and requests that she be. Tedros confesses his love for Agatha and requests that she be his date, date for the ever snowball, to which she accepts, and she accepts this, and then Sophie underhears this and ultimately transforms into what she has become internally, a blood jealous, toothless, shivered witch with no remorse or mercy. She proceeds to destroy both schools and attempt to eliminate her nemesis, Agatha. So I'm going to break what I just read out. I'm going to break it down. So what's happening is that Tedros, Sophie's Sophie's crush, Sophie really crushed on him, and she wants to be the princess and all that. But then Tedros is not giving her the attention he wants, but instead he's giving the attention to her friend. And this thing is, if it was someone else, I'm sure it would have not been that bad of a deal, but it's her best friend, and she also asked her best friend for her help earlier to, make this prince like her and all that. So it's why it's really, really hurting her, and she then and then when their ball is approaching, the prince then asks, confesses his love for Agatha, and he also asks her to be his date for their ball. Now, this, of course, is going to be really annoying to Sophie. So, while everything is happening, she just turns into a jealous, toothless, shivered witch, and she just turns into something she is internally, something she has been piling up. This is somebody that said she didn't like the school of evil and that she was good and she needs to be sent to the school of good. And this is the same person that then turns into this something she is internally, something evil, and she wants to eliminate her nemesis, which is Agatha, her best friend. So she then wants to, and she has already been seeing Agatha in her dreams. She first off thought it was the prince, but after a lot of trying to get who this person really is, after trying to get um who this nemesis really is, she then figures out it's Agatha, because Agatha was getting stronger and her nemesis had to be getting stronger. She figured that it's Agatha, and then with all this happening, she's furious, and then she proceeds to destroy both the school of good and the school of evil. She destroys both schools, and then she attempts to eliminate her nemesis, and her nemesis is her best friend Agatha. So Determined for her happy ending, Sophie finds the school. She finds the schoolmaster's true identity to be to be evil, as the S is astonishing for the evil schoolmaster's murderer of the good one, and she, as he tells her about his wish for this one true love. Sophie, she believes that she believes that she can find happily ever after with him instead of Tedros, and that she was evil all along. But upon kissing him, she heart-trendly remembers Nevers are incapable of love as Agatha catches up with her best friend. The schoolmaster prepares to kill her so that he can take Sophie for himself. Just when the can just when the S was about to spare Agatha's heart, Sophie did something that shocked the schoolmaster. She stepped in front of her best friend, sacrificing her own life for her. The ghost of the deceased good brother returns to save his students, and since only sirs can hold earth souls, sirs and history teachers, Professor August sacrificed his own body to help the good brother to destroy the evil schoolmaster and and this in the process. Sophie is shortly after losing to she does too same after losing too much red liquid from her body to the cut at her heart, and Agatha, distraught, kisses her. Not long after this, however, Sophie revives as Agatha's kiss had proved that evil could love, and she and Agatha are teleported back to their town where they were kidnapped from. They are teleported back to their town, implying that they realize they don't need a prince after all. So the boats, after everything, they were then teleported back to their home. So after being teleported back to their hometown, and they realized they did not need a prince after all. Realized they did not need a prince, and then in Tedros was left in disappointment as his own one true love had disappeared from him just before the Eve's ball. So if you recall, he had asked Agatha to be his date. I'm sure she has said yes. So now it was few days to the ball and they had disappeared. So the prince was left in disappointment, and he was left in disappointment. So this leaves the students of the school in surprise as they realize the teachings about good and evil, being incapable of friendship were not true. So this left the students in surprise to realize that all the teaching they had been receiving, saying that good and evil cannot be friends, they were incapable of being friends and having a good friendship. So this proved to the students that it was all not true. They can good and evil can actually be good friends, and Sophie and Agatha proved it. Now let's do a little quick rewind of a little of everything. So they were kidnapped to the school of good and evil, misplaced. They were sent to the wrong schools. Agatha was sent to the school of good when she was supposed to be evil, and Sophie was sent to the good school of evil, and she was trying to prove that, oh, I'm good, I'm not evil, I'm good. But then the schoolmaster then said he was going to give them a chance to prove that they had indeed been sent to the wrong school. So after that they had been sent to the wrong school, he then gives them a quiz to solve, which Sophie secretly helped Agatha, and Agatha secretly helped Sophie. And then Sophie then meets the prince, and she thinks he is her one true love. And then she asks Agatha to help her make the prince notice her and all that. But in the process, the prince notices Agatha, and then he starts having liking her. And now Sophie is realizing that she had evil in her, and she was actually not sent to the wrong school. She was sent to the right school because she's doing evil things, and all that made. And Sophie, on the other hand, on the other hand, was doing good things. And then after a lot of things, um the thing with the school of evil, the evil side was that you have nemesis dream, which is your enemy will be revealed to you in your dream, and you have to take down your enemy for you to be stronger, and for you to continue your fairy tale and all that. So she then Sophie then thinks that the prince is her nemesis, but then she figured out it's Agatha, and she's already hating Agatha because the prince is showing attention to Agatha. So yeah, but she didn't really want to go ahead with the nemesis stuff, which is to eliminate Agatha. She didn't really want to do it. But then when the prince confesses his love for Agatha and asks her to be his date, Sophie loses it, and then she wants to do that. So she then destroys both school of good and evil, and she wants to eliminate Agatha. Then she goes to the schoolmaster to tell him some stuff, and then there was a fight there, and he wanted to eliminate Sophie, but Agatha put herself in front of despair, and it went through her heart, causing her to pass away. And after a lot of things, with Sophie's crying and all that, Agatha was revived, and that's it. So after the prince being revived, and then they proved that good and evil can be friends, they are capable of being good friends, and after proving all that, they are then teleported back to their town, and then the prince who was supposed to go to the ball with Agatha feels bad because his date just disappeared on him, and that was the end of this. But it's actually a series, and there are more books. I'll be saying a little about the other books. We have A World Without Princess. This is one of the series. After School of Good and Evil, the next is A World Without Princess, and then after A World Without Princess, the next is The Last Ever After. So I will also be doing the same for these two novels. For these two, all I've been saying before was according to the novel, because the movie was acted based on the novel. So I'm giving you a review of the novel because the movie is not out yet. Yeah, and then so the next series is A World Without Princess. So I'll also be taking it step by step like I did for the other one. Then so this starts with Agatha and Sophie. They have returned home and they were accepted as heroes. Unfortunately for Agatha, Sophie is taking advantage of this opening, whereas Agatha wants nothing to do with fame. Sophie puts on mini shows. So Sophie is taking advantage of this opening, whereas Agatha wants nothing to do with this fame. Sophie puts on many shows, claiming that nobody will ever celebrate Agatha and Sophie's escaping the school of good and evil. At Sophie's father's wedding, Agatha suddenly wishes for another ending to her story, which the prince with the prince another ending. She wishes for another ending to her story with the prince. This wish causes magical arrows to come and messages saying to give Sophie to them. Angrily, the town turns into a mob demanding Sophie to be given to whatever wants her. The elders say that they are protecting Sophie, but in reality, they are not protecting Sophie and they are just putting on a show so that she believes them. In reality, they are actually planning to give her to the mob and they don't tell her that. So they claim they are protecting Sophie, but they are actually not protecting her. They are planning on giving her to the mob. So they tell Sophie to stay in the church alone, and Agatha, thinking that Sophie will be safe, leaves. Sophie is taken into the forest with a message on her chest made from her own red liquid. She is hung on a tree with the message, "Take me," and left to die. Agatha finds Sophie and runs away with her, trying not to be attacked by the mob. They soon arrive. Sophie runs away with Agatha and, trying not to be attacked by the mob, they soon arrive at a flower ground line and notice butterflies trying to help them. They get on a train unknowingly bound for the School of Good and Evil. In their attempts to escape, they unknowingly get on the train for the School of Good and Evil, and now they have no choice but to go with the train because they are on the train. So, arriving at the doors, so the train took them to the School of Good and Evil, and when they got to the doors of the school, the girls they are swamped by a herd of girls from both schools wrapped in blue as the girls are introduced to their classmates, including a silent girl named Yara, and taken around by the new dean. They notice that the school has been changed and the fairy tale on the walls have changed as a result, with the damsel in distress now becoming warrior woman. Agatha mentions the absence of boys, and it is discovered that after they left, all the girls from the School of Evil were repelled and had to come to the school for good, seeking refuge. The boys from the school for good were then expelled by an unforeseen force and had to go to the school of evil. So this means that the school of good is now for only girls due to everything happening, and the school of evil, the boys were then expelled to the school of evil. So the school of evil has just boys in it now and no girl, because all the girls are in the school of good. And then so when Sophie and Agatha arrive, they find out about all this by the new schoolmaster. The new schoolmaster gave them a tour and told them about all this. As the truth and impact of what they have done settle on the girls, Sophie is horrified to discover that they are back due to Agatha's wish for a different ending to their tale, mainly that she ends up with the prince. Agatha denies this and insists that all she wants to do is return home. Agatha sneaks into the school for boys, with Sophie following her under an invisible cape to stop her from Tedros. Agatha attempts to speak with the prince. So Agatha sneaks into the school for boys, with Sophie following her under an invisible cape to stop her from kissing the prince. Agatha attempts to speak with the prince, does, and almost kisses him, but the moment before they do, the prince becomes paranoid about Sophie still being alive and able to seek revenge, and starts raveling. As they argue, Sophie, hidden underneath a table in the room, seizes the opportunity and shoots a spell between them. Agatha thinks the prince attacked her, and the prince thinks Agatha attacked him, and they both start fighting. Agatha then flees, convinced that the prince is evil. As they said, she returns to the school for good, where Sophie is waiting for her, pretending not to have known a thing. Eventually, it is decided that one of the girls must become a boy and go to the school of evil, which is the school of the boys now, to interrogate into the school for boys and steal the historian. Sophie is chosen due to her surprisingly masculine sense of willpower and perseverance, and interrogates into this boys' school. Soon, Sophie's name as a boy is Philip. The name Sophie's father originally wanted to name Sophie before she was born, thinking she was a boy. Philip and the prince have problems at first, but soon Philip is protecting the prince. Then they become the best of friends. Philip confesses to Tedros that he, Sophie, would do anything to see his mother again. Tedros says he wouldn't want to see his because his dad, King Otto, sent out a warrant for her head. She had cheated on the king with someone, and when he turned 16, he would have the honor that warrant. Later in the forest at the trail by Tell, Agatha is in hiding when Philip comes with Tedros. Soon, Agatha sees that Tedros leans in to kiss Philip, but Agatha only sees their lip almost touch. This causes a dispute between the three, and Philip turns back into Sophie as the spell wears off. Tedros the prince is confused and angry, but then the dean of the new school for girls and the half sister of August has her butterflies off tree as they carry the historian and Evelyn to the trio. The new dean brings out Sophie and Agatha's fairy tale book and let the story write. Agatha and Tedros kiss because Agatha told Sophie that she couldn't trust her anymore and Sophie was turning into a witch again. The historian is about to finish writing the end, but the dean stops it. Evelyn reveals that it was not Agatha's wish that brought them back to the school, but rather Sophie's wish to see her mother, who had been abandoned by her husband. The dean of the new school for girls and the half sister of August has her butterflies off tree as they carry the historian and Evelyn to the trio. The new dean brings out Sophie and Agatha's fairy tale book and let the story write. Agatha and Tedros kiss because Agatha told Sophie that she couldn't trust her anymore and Sophie was turning into a witch again. The historian is about to finish writing the end, but the dean stops it. Evelyn reveals that it was not Agatha's wish that brought them back to the school, but rather Sophie's wish to see her mother, who had been abandoned by her husband. Her mother that fell sick and later is Sophie in grief, having lost her village, her family, and now her best friend accepts her wish and if and her wish and Evelyn conquers the schoolmaster's ghost in the guise of Sophie's mother. Sophie kisses the ghost and as it becomes the schoolmaster who explains that a true love's kiss can even revive the dead, just as Agatha revives Sophie. The schoolmaster hears Evelyn and sends Agatha home. The schoolmaster tries to kill the prince, but Agatha managed to grab the prince and takes him with her. Sophie, however, is left behind, refusing to leave the schoolmaster, stating that he was the only one who did not abandon her. The two schools become malevolent school for evil together. As the two girls are separated, they both remain in the arms of the ones who love them. Their wishes were granted. So this is the end of the other series, A World Without a Princess. Now for the last series here, which is The Last Ever After, we'll be starting that one now. So this is The Last Ever After. 3 weeks following the event of A World Without Princess, both schools have fallen under the rule of the returned schoolmaster, with the original school for evil becoming the school for old evil, and the school for good becoming the school for new evil. Still, the change is all but complete, as the schoolmaster, named Raphael, still has to marry Sophie and ultimately start his campaign to destroy good. Through hesitating, she is afraid she might end up alone forever, taking into account of Agatha and the prince. Supposed betrayals. Agatha and the prince supposed betrayals when ignoring her pleas for help. Sophie accepts the proposal and becomes a teacher for the school for new evil, but the historian still does not accept this as a rightful happy ending. Sophie and Agatha's storybook have been open too long now. This starts a countdown in which the sun grows weaker each passing day, and when the final dust settles, it will mean the end of all the fairy tale world. This will mean the end of all the fairy tale world when the final dust settles. Men guards Agatha, Sophie, and the prince to Avalon, where the prince discovers Guinevere and Claire still alive. Despite his initial grudge towards both, that's his mom and the man she cheated on him with. So, despite his initial grudge against both, he slowly and painfully comes to forgive them as he learns further of Otto's previous paranoid behavior, Otto, his dad, and dooming issues. Agatha, on her part, gives up the prince so Sophie can have him instead, more driven by her reluctance in becoming the future queen. Then, despite her and Sophie's best efforts, however, the plan ultimately fails when Sophie and Tedros kiss and both realize they were never meant for each other. Believing she was used all along, Sophie returns to Raphael, accepting her place by his side and becoming the Queen of Evil, cementing her union with Tedros the Prince. Agatha is made the Queen of Good as both parties prepare for war. The final battle is to take place in Gavindon, still untouched because of an energy barrier. Because of an energy barrier. fed by people's belief in fairy tales, but weakening due to Raphael's altered stories and is being targeted for reasons unknown. During training, Agatha also learns of Cinderella's true fairy tale, where she claims that she did not want to be a princess at all. She believed her stepsisters, who were really kind to her, deserved it, and that she would simply tag along. Her marriage to the prince caused a permanent rift between her and the stepsisters, who were ultimately eliminated. The battle takes place in the woods close to Gavendor, which Merlin manages to sway all the good students against Raphael and Sophie, with Lady Lesso aid having been revealed as the traitor trying to undermine Evil's efforts. Sophie, with Agatha in hot pursuit, tracks Lady Lesso down to the school for Old Evil, who discloses to her that evil was never meant to destroy good or vice versa, but instead become a harmonic part of it. She and Agatha also discovers the corpse of Sophie's mother, Vanessa, and the tale behind both her and Callis, in which Sophie and Agatha are discovered to be twin sisters, explaining the inseparable bond between them. Still, while Agatha sees this as a chance to heal wounds, Sophie remains still determined to keep her union with Raphael by any means. She thinks if she divorces Raphael, she will be alone forever, and Agatha is determined to make her see that her fear is not true. Agatha is determined to make her see that what she fears most, which is why she still wants to go with Raphael, what she fears most is not true, and that they can change that. So the battle ultimately shifts in Evil's favor as Cinderella dies and the barrier protecting Gavendor falls, allowing Raphael to invade. However, instead of destroying the whole town, he takes Sophie's father for execution by Sophie's own hands as a final sacrifice for love and evil's ultimate victory. In a last desperate effort, Agatha reminds Sophie of her friendship, making her realize she already had a happy ending of her own and was risking destroying it. Sophie has a change of heart at the last second and deceives Raphael, destroying his ring and ultimately ending him, saving everyone in the nick of time. Full of regret, full of regret, Sophie, Agatha, and her father makes amends with Sophie, finally letting Stephen have a family of his own as she and Agatha pull back to the endless woods. Now being fairy tale characters, Sophie and Agatha cannot exist anymore in the reader world. They they also give their farewell to Lady Lesso, who was fatally stabbed in battle by her son Eric. Lady Lesso and Cinderella are promptly laid to rest, and everything seemingly returns to normal. Sophie decides not to follow Agatha and the prince to their kingdom when she discovers she was chosen by Lady Lesso to be her successor as dean for the School of Evil. Agatha and the prince depart for their kingdom with Medin and the rest. Sophie comes to fully embrace her new role and purpose and is content with herself, remarking, I am me. So none of these were made up by me. This is from Wikipedia, the book, and this is the end of this section, which is the first one was full of good and evil. Then we have a world without princess. Then we have this last one, which is the last ever after. So and there's a book that is similar in a way, and this book is One True King by the same person too. So let's take a look at it. But before then, okay, let's take a look. So the book opens with Anna, Dale, Hester, and Dot searching for Sophie. They are unaware that Sophie is being controlled and that whenever she tries to remember her past, she suffers immense pain. They truly discover something is wrong when they see that. Then they realize something is wrong with her when they see that Sophie is about to get married to who is actually his brother. Agatha and the prince, meanwhile, have found King Arthur's ring that kept the story alive, and they use wish fish to find Sophie. Sophie, being controlled, attempts to eliminate Agatha, and Agatha realizes she must be under Japheth's control before the fight can truly become a large-scale war. Returns to the stone, and the King Arthur's voice contends to prove whether Tedros is king or Japheth is king. The winner will be king and the loser will be beheaded. Tedros also learns that Japheth and Ryan were not King Arthur's sons at all, but their true parents are still unknown. Agatha, Tedros, and the rest set off to help Tedros achieve the first test, and in doing so finds a version of Merlin turned into a baby. Sophie, meanwhile, is on a hunt to find out more about her past, despite the pain that despite the pain it gives her. She discovers the snake that Japheth can create must be in her head, feeding on her memories, and uses her power to painfully take them from her head and escapes. Heather meanwhile searches for Dot's dad, who they believe may still be alive. Japheth catches up to Sophie as she in turn catches up to Tedros. Agatha and Nick during a battle is discovered that Japheth is the son of Raphael, a villain in the previous story. Eventually, after Tedros and Japheth complete more tests, the time becomes the time comes for the winner to be selected. Japheth is selected and Tedros is taken out. However, Merlin revives Tedros and the results are shown to be a mistake and Japheth is taken instead. Tedros and Agatha become king and queen, while Nicole and Hot and Sophie Precious a romantic relationship with him, and Anadi and Hanster were hinted at being in romantic relationship as well. That's the summary for this one. And so that is it. And I'm checking. So this One True King is a 2020 fairy tale fantasy by the same author, the final novel of the School of Good and Evil series, and is set after the events of a crystal time. The book details Theodorus, son of King Arthur, fights to become king of Camelot and prevent Japhet, who is impersonating his brother, from becoming the one true king. This is what this one is all about, and honestly, this School for Good and Evil has been a thrill. There are a lot of plot twists, things that you just don't expect it to be possible in any way becomes possible. I mean, what can you really say? It's a fantasy movie where things that don't really exist, and yeah, that is it for this summary of The One True King. So now we'll be checking the reviews by people for this book. So the boys, so this is one. The boys went off to fight with swords, while girls had to learn dog barks and all what. No wonder princesses were so impotent in fairy tales. She thought if all they could do was smile, stand straight, and speak to squirrels, then what choice did they have but to wait? What choice did they have but to wait for a boy to rescue them? If any book ever deserved to be Disney filled, this would be it. This book is seriously sweet. It was just delightful. It is a middle grade alternative fairy tale which parrots and utilizes fairy tale tropes to excellent effect, and I constantly with laughter and is tongue in check hilariously. It is a light book, a Harry Potter style boarding school novel based around fairy tales. It was full adorable. It was just adorable. Let me tell you, but it is not too sweet at all. For a middle grade book, this story had a surprisingly amount of darkness and depth. It questions the nature of friendship. It questions good and evil. It tells us that it is our choice in life that matters in the long run, that our nature is self-determined. She was evil, always evil, and there would never be happiness or peace. As her heart shattered with sadness, she yielded to darkness without a fight, only to hear a dying echo somewhere deeper than so is not what we are. So darkness and depth, it questions the nature of friendship, it questions good and evil. Trying to pick up the next one. Sophie and Agatha may be friends, but their relationship can best be described as passive aggressive. the passive aggressiveness coming entirely from Sophie. Sophie's eyes flashed. You're lucky that someone would come see you when no one else will. You're lucky that someone like me would be your friend. You're lucky that someone like me is such a good person. I knew it. Agatha fled. I'm your good deed, just a pawn your stupid fantasy. On the night of the kidnapping, Sophie and Agatha got kidnapped, or rather, Sophie went entirely willingly and Agatha got dragged into it. Sophie expected to be accepted into the school of good. Agatha is praying against hope that she will not be forced into the school of evil. It didn't exactly work out the way they had planned. It didn't exactly work out like that. The lovely Sophie wound up in the school of evil, a school that trains fairy tale villains. She sticks out like a sore thumb among the hideous creature, her fellow students. Sophie knows what to do. She ran for her life. The hideous Agatha finds herself among a gagging of pretty princess, an entire school of Sophies. She knows she doesn't belong. She knows what to do. Oh no, sadly, the school doesn't work right back. It's a magical school, you all, unlike it, not Agatha and Sophie are there to stay, or else children who fail disappear. They have to stay, they have to work, but if they are to stay alive. Fairy tales are darker than they look, and surviving this school will take all of Sophie and Agatha's cunning will they manage to maintain their dangerous friendship? The fight escalates. Will they be able to face the danger, the darkness within the school? But the boys trail up for war in classes. Was it a mistake to put Sophie into the school of evil and Agatha into the school of good? Or will they both, Agatha and Sophie, realize that they were where they should be all along? Well, in the school of good, they teach boys and girls like me how to become heroes and princesses, how to rule kingdom justly, how to find happiness ever after. Sophie said, the setting in this book is just freaking adorable, taking all the tropes you ever knew about fairy tale and squish it into a book. You might expect it to be bad. No, it's not. It's fantastic. We have hideous, warty creatures. They have snotty social awkwardness, innately evil villains in the school of evil. We have gloriously charming and handsome boys and girls in the school of good who are so full of themselves. The setting is beautiful. We have castles and beautifully bedrooms and pretty fluffy pink candy cane sheets in the school of good and nasty dirty dungeons and food you wouldn't feed to your worst enemy in the school of evil. They are magical grease werewolf. And then there's the curriculum. The curriculum, can you imagine poor Sophie? The teachers are hilarious, from evil hags and witches to an actual fairy tale princess. Agatha couldn't tell if she was nervous or just an idiot. Sophie, she's not meant to be loved. She's a character that grows on you. If you ever wanted a fairy tale trope, Sophie is it. Man, she is beautiful, she is different, she has always felt like she was meant to be a princess. And man, I felt a tremendous sense of sad when Sophie got put into the school of evil. Sophie is a devious character. Don't let her golden fair appearance fool you. And She may seem fluffy in appearance, but she is not a character to be taken lightly. Sophie is absolutely convinced that she is in the wrong school, and we can't blame her. It's a lifelong dream, and it was dashed to the ground in one moment. Her character development is marvelous. Undoubtedly, the more sympathetic of the two, the hideous girl, always the hated one. She cannot look past her own appearance to see what's underneath it. Agatha's self-esteem is so low that is below sea level. Agatha is dependent upon Sophie in a way they were, and she may seem fluffy in appearance, but she is not a character to be taken lightly. Sophie is absolutely convinced that she is in the wrong school, and we can't blame her. It's a lifelong dream, and it was dashed to the ground in one moment. Her character development is marvelous. Undoubtedly, the more sympathetic of the two, the hideous girl, always the hated one. She cannot look past her own appearance to see what's underneath it. Agatha's self-esteem is so low that is below sea level. Agatha is dependent upon Sophie in a way they were they were friends before, and Agatha clings onto that friendship for so long that she nearly forgets what it meant to be independent. The friendship between Agatha and Sophie is so beautifully written. Their relationship is one fraught with power, play, struggle, and they are so complex because of it. Both love one another while deeply resenting one another, but they have one common purpose. Eventually, they realize that they have to rely upon one another to make it through. A fantastic middle grade book, enjoyable by all ages, highly recommended. Loved your review and this best review. You make me want to reread the entire series.